If you've been to the grocery store recently, you might have started seeing cherries on display. Farm workers are starting to harvest the Washington State cherry crop, which means those cherries are making their way from the trees to the store, to your home, and hopefully in your stomach. But what if the farm workers harvesting crops like those cherries are having trouble finding a home?
Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa explains how that could impact what you see on the grocery shelves and how new federal funding is hoping to help the farm workers and the housing available.
From the apple you ate at lunch to the cherries you'll eat tonight, before those items made their way to your kitchen, they first had to be harvested by farm workers.
Growers are under a lot of pressure, and their biggest cost in a lot of fruit and vegetable crops is labor. So having the available housing and that labor force is really critical.
John Devaney is the president of the Washington State Tree Fruit Association. He says in smaller, rural areas, a lack of housing is a big problem, which is why the United States Department of Agriculture announced $48 million to help alleviate the shortage of safe and affordable farm labor housing across the Pacific Northwest and the nation.
The people who grow our food deserve to have decent housing. And
the Washington State Rural Development Director for the USDA, Helen Price Johnson, says those funds can go toward brand new units for on-farm housing as well as off-farm housing.
Right now, Washington State has about 21 properties for off-farm housing, and this opens up that opportunity to have much more. I hear from people all across the state, from the Olympic Peninsula to the Palouse, about the need for this housing.
Because if farm workers can't find housing, that becomes a growing problem for many of us. According to the Washington State Department of Commerce, the agriculture and food manufacturing industry generates more than $21 billion in revenue annually. And Washington is the #1 producer of apples, blueberries, hops, pears, spearmint oil, and sweet cherries.
If you can't find the labor force for harvesting your crops, you could have a crop failure that year, a huge amount of food waste.
If that becomes a persistent problem, that means growers may decide not to grow that crop anymore, which means consumers like you and me would no longer be able to buy those certain crops at stores, or you'd have to buy it at a higher price.
Many of us take a lot of reliable systems for granted. When you don't think about the power coming out of the outlet in your wall until there's a storm and the power goes out. You don't think about a lot of products, especially food products, until their supply is disrupted. We need to be aware of these supply chains and the labor force that's necessary to produce essential products like food, and make sure that those systems are resilient and we invest in them.
The funding is on a first-come, first-served basis. The deadline to apply is July 3rd, and we'll have a link to it at fox13seattle.com. In Seattle, Shira Matsuzawa, Fox 13 News.